In just a few months, Filipinos will choose the next leaders of the country. And the stakes are high as the nation awaits directions in navigating through this overwhelming health crisis, among others.
Most of the members of the COMELEC or even the Supreme Court are the appointees of the president. I think people should know that these are not beholden commissioners. They are only beholden to their conscience because they're supposed to be independent-minded.
They will pitch their cause.
Let's bring in other voices, no? Representing indigenous peoples, representing the fight for nature, fight for the environment. That's the reason why we are not having a lot of progressive laws that address the roots of our problems is because we have the elite class in the Senate.
And why they deserve your vote.
Oh, I see the surveys, mababa ako. Pero that does not stop us from campaigning for victory. Now, whatever is the result, and then it will just be a step for us for further victory. We will never stop until we win.
Find out their plan of action for change. And as they chart the country's future, their political future is in your hands. Who are qualified? Who are worthy to serve in the 19th Congress? Watch them side by side here on CNN Philippines.
Hello everyone, I'm Rico Hizon and welcome to the CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. Tonight, we get to know some of our candidates by asking them questions on issues that matter to most Filipinos. 3 hopefuls are joining us, all first-time senatorial candidates. Let me introduce them to you in alphabetical order. The 55-year-old senatorial candidate is running under the Liberal Party. He obtained his bachelor's degree in mass communication, majoring in journalism at UP Diliman. He served as mayor of Kiangan in Ifugao Province and was also elected governor of Ifugao. Let us all please welcome former Ifugao Representative Teddy Baguilat, joining us via Zoom. The 76-year-old senatorial candidate is running under the ruling PDP Laban Party. He obtained his Bachelor of Laws at the University of Santo Tomas, served as a faculty member at the Ateneo School of Government, and also became the Senate Secretary. Let us all please welcome former Eastern Samar Governor Lutgardo Barbo. The 46-year-old senatorial candidate is running under the Partido Lakas ng Masa. He obtained his Juris Doctor degree at the Ateneo de Manila School of Law. He served as National President of the Bukluran ng Manggagawang Pilipino and Solidarity of Unions in the Philippines for Empowerment and Reform. Let us all please welcome labor lawyer Luke Espiritu. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Our guests in the studio have tested negative for COVID-19, and I would like to remind everyone that this is not a debate. This is about letting voters understand your platforms, principles, and stands on issues. We have compiled questions. Each of you will be given a time limit for each answer. When you hear this sound, that means you only have 10 seconds left and you need to wrap up. And to those of you watching online or from your respective homes, you can join the conversation by using the hashtag CNNPH Senatorial Forum. All right, let's start now this forum with this timely topic. A historic, big-time fuel price hike has taken effect a few days ago, with diesel prices going up by as much as 5 pesos and 85 centavos per liter. The ongoing conflict between Russia and Ukraine prompted crude prices in the world market to surge. Motorists are bracing for another massive fuel price hike next week. Diesel prices may increase by more than 12 pesos per liter, while gasoline prices may shoot up by as much as 7 pesos per liter. Well, despite these scenarios, authorities have rejected the fare hike petitions of transport groups, fearing a bigger inflationary risk. To mitigate the worsening situation, the government proposed a 5 billion peso fuel subsidy and an increase in the country's buffer stock of petroleum. Well, the first question is, candidates, aside from subsidies, what is your immediate solution to soaring fuel prices, one that can be felt as soon as you take your seat if elected? 90 seconds per candidate. Let's start off with you, Representative Baguilat.
Okay. Well, there are stopgap measures that we can enact. No? It requires legislative action. Yung talagang amendment to the train law, I think everybody's proposing the suspension or even reduction or removing yung excise taxes on petroleum products. No? Aside from, of course, fuel subsidies to the transport industry. And it's also about time to also try to institutionalize yung mga work-at-home arrangements. But looking at long-term solutions, right? Because we cannot also avoid talking about long-term solutions. No? Masyado tayo kasi talagang dependent on oil from abroad. No? So it's also important for us to look at renewable energy in terms of the manufacturing industry, and perhaps also the study improvement of our public transportation system, including yung mga hybrid vehicles, e-vehicles. I know these are long-term solutions, but these are things that we also have to look because we will always be vulnerable to geopolitics. Yung also pag-protect natin ng West Philippine Sea, because as I've said, most of our oil comes from overseas, 100% actually. And there is oil and gas in the West Philippine Sea. So it's also very crucial for us to really protect the West Philippine Sea. So the short-term at saka long-term solutions yung aking gustong ihain kung tayo po ay manalo sa Senado.
Thank you so much, Congressman Baguilat. Well, of course, these suggestions should have been done yesterday to be able to face these issues of today. What about you, Governor Lutz? What do you propose to solve the skyrocketing fuel prices apart from subsidies?
Well, I think it's about time that we look into alternative sources of energy. And I think we should seriously consider solar. The sun is giving us free energy that can be looked into. And I think more than praying, I think we should pray, but we should do something because even the Lord helps only those who help themselves. But perhaps to cushion the impact of the government spending so much, perhaps the government can reallocate or reschedule offices and attendance to offices so that the use of aircon can be looked into, and then perhaps that, well, it's just a little, but when all little things are considered, they become small. So perhaps government should see to it that air conditioners, government air conditioners, including private homes, should also, people who own or houses who have air conditioners.
All right, your time is up. Thank you so much, Governor. Same question for you, Attorney Espiritu.
Yes, itong problema na to na nagkakaroon tayo ng price shock dahil sa nangyari sa Ukraine, this is but expected. This will be a recurring problem because we are an oil-dependent country. So kapag ito'y expected, alam mo dapat long-term talaga ang solution dito kasi hindi naman pwedeng every time na merong problema, may gera dito, biglang nag-shoot up ang presyo ng crudo, dyan pa lang tayo magkukumahog. Actually, yes, we do have to adopt short-term solutions. Like for example, dapat wala na yung VAT at excise tax kasi dyan mamumroblema ang ating mga consumer. Aside from that, na i-suspend ang excise tax at VAT, gawin natin permanente. Wala nang mga regressive taxes. Dapat we should tax the rich and not the poor. But then again, we should also already review Ano bang naging effect ng oil deregulation law sa atin? Na yung ating gobyerno ay hands-off policy pagdating sa industriya ng langis. We must understand that industry is imbued with public interest. At kapag ano man ang mangyari sa industriya ng langis, lahat kabit-kabit na yan. Pag tumaas yan, hindi lang transportation ang tataas, pati ang ating mga binibili tataas, ang ating ekonomiya babagsak. Tapos ang posisyon ng gobyerno, hands-off, neoliberal policy pa rin. We have to review our oil deregulation law. In fact, we have to abandon already our neoliberal policies that has not been, working for the people.
Thank you so much, Attorney Espiritu. And there's a call also and a clamor from some lawmakers to call for a special congressional session next week to suspend the fuel excise tax. Moving on now to another issue. The country's outstanding debt breached the 12 trillion peso mark for the first time in Philippine history. And as of January 2022, our debt amounted to more than 12 trillion pesos after the government borrowed more funding due to the COVID-19 crisis. With the ballooning national debt, lawmakers have pushed for legislating a debt cap or ceiling. And this is similar to the framework in the United States, where it has institutionalized debt limitation since the early 20th century. Well, the Finance Department opposes the debt ceiling proposal, saying it will make the country inflexible and will hinder financing in crisis periods. The question is, candidates, what is your stand on limiting the country's debt? Which side are you on in this issue? Attorney Espiritu, you have 90 seconds.
I am for limiting our country's debt. So may kakaroon tayo ng debt ceiling. But that is not enough. We must also understand yung mga inutang na natin simula pa nung panahon ni Marcos hanggang kay Duterte. Marami dyan mga odious debts. Meaning to say, mga debts na hindi pinakinabangan ng sambayanang Pilipino. And we must have a debt audit in order to check kung itong mga inutang ba, which now run into trillions of pesos, 12 trillion, kung ito ba ay makatarungan, ito ba ay dapat bayaran, and we must renegotiate with our debtors. But at the same time, tama rin yung debt ceiling na yan kasi para magkaroon ng pagtingin ng gobyerno na hindi lamang tayo sa utang kumuha ng ating mga paggastusin sa ating mga programa. In fact, hindi dapat primary utang We could look at our tax system, ayusin natin ang pangolekta natin ng tax, buwisan natin ang mga mayayaman. In fact, kami sa slate ni Calyodi, we are for wealth tax which will generate trillions of pesos na hindi mo kailangan mangutang. So if there is a debt ceiling and at the same time you institute a wealth tax, then it could work hand in hand para hindi naman lumobo ang ating utang, and at the same time, kailangan natin i-audit ang ating debt, and then we could even try to see kung pwede tayong magkaroon ng freezing ng pagbayad ng debt. And of course, the most important thing is alisin na natin yung automatic debt appropriation law.
Congressman Baguilat, which side are you on in this issue of the debt ceiling proposal? 90 seconds, please.
I'm also for debt ceiling. Importante rin siguro yung i-renegotiate natin yung mga loans natin. Restructuring is something that we need to do now, especially naghihikahos ang Pilipinas. Pero sa akin, mas importante rin na aralin natin kung saan ba nagamit yung utang. Kasi hindi naman masama umutang, basta siguraduhin lang na ginamit sa tamang paraan at hindi kinurakot. Magmula nga ng panahon ni Marcos, panahon ni Duterte sa ngayon, andyan ang formally, ang daming mga dubious transactions, ang dami nating mga fraudulent loans. So, importante rin siguro habang tayo ay umuutang pa rin. Kasi kailanganin mo pa rin umutang, then make sure lang na accountable yung mga tao na nangurakot itong inuutang natin. Gamitin natin sa tamang paraan yung pag-uutang. At the same time, ako willing talagang pag-aralan yung debt cap. I think this is something that countries have done. But also to make sure na hindi tayo maapektuhan sa international financial community. Because definitely, kahit paano, mangangailangan pa rin tayong umutang. Especially kung hindi natin pagandahan yung pagkuha natin ng mga revenues natin. As I've said, for as long as the monies that we negotiate through loans would be used really to developing the economy, matulungan yung mga ating mga naghihirap, at mabigyan talaga ng services, health, and, education, and social services yung karamihan ng ating mga kababayan.
Governor Barbo, what is your stand on the country's debt?
I believe there should be this shilling. Now, Naalala ko panahon ni Cory Aquino when she could have asked his American friends when she was talking sa US Congress, pwede namang sabihin sana niya, magkakaibigan naman tayo, bakit yung Poland, pinasinsyahan nyo, nakalimutan nyo yung utang. Pero ang masakit dito sa atin, umutang hindi para sa kapakanan ng bayan. Umutang para yung mga bulsa ay mapuno. Halimbawa lang yung, well, ang daming halimbawa dyan, ano? Yung sa Westinghouse na nag-put up na kontrata ng nuclear energy sa Bataan, which happens to be an earthquake fault situation, nagtatago na ang naging contractor dyan, ang daming salapi na could have been used in this country. Kaya siguro dapat habulin natin yung mga umutang para sa pangsariling kapakanan nila. Kaya kami noon, panahon ng diktatorya, nagsisisigaw kami, nakaw na yaman, ibalik sa bayan, nakaw na yaman.
Thank you very much, Governor. And we'll be taking this short break, but before we do that, here's a question answerable by yes or no for our three candidates. You will answer using the signboard that is provided for you on your tables. The green color means it is a yes. The red one means it is a no. The country faces a potential energy crisis as Malampaya is running out of natural gas, and the government has projected the Malampaya gas field, which supplies 30% of Luzon's electricity, will be completely depleted by 2027. Hence, an urgent need to have a new energy source. President Duterte has signed an executive order adopting a nuclear energy program. He also tasked the Nuclear Energy Program Interagency Committee to study the viability of the mothballed Bataan Nuclear Power Facility, as well as the creation of other nuclear energy facilities. Here's the question, gentlemen. Are you in favor of reopening the Bataan Nuclear Power Plant to generate a new energy power source? Yes or no? No for Governor, no for Attorney Espiritu, and no for Congressman Baguilat. It is unanimous no to reopening the nuclear facility. This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. When we return, we find out our candidates' views on wage hikes and women's rights. Stay with us. Glad you're staying with us for this CNN Philippines special presentation. I'm Rico Hizon. This is the 8th in a series of senatorial forums as we count down the days leading to the May 9th polls. Joining us are first-timers in the senatorial race, former Ifugao Representative Teddy Baguilat, former Eastern Samar Governor Lutgardo Barbo, and labor lawyer Luke Espiritu. Amid surging oil prices, Labor Secretary Silvestre Bello ordered wage boards to review the minimum wages across the country. Bello says rising prices is a compelling ground to recommend wage adjustments. He also admits the current Metro Manila minimum wage may not be sufficient in coping with soaring basic commodity prices. And according to the Labor Department's National Wages and Productivity Commission, the minimum wage in the National Capital Region is 537 pesos, the highest in the country. And the lowest is in the Bicol region at 310 pesos. Several labor groups are pushing for a 750 peso minimum wage nationwide. Well, the question is, how do you balance calls from the labor sector to raise the minimum wage while allowing small businesses that provide jobs remain viable in complying with the proposed higher pay? Well, Governor Barbo, this question is first addressed to you. You have 90 seconds.
You know, we cannot be arbitrary on trying to say and impose this should be the correct amount. I suggest that since we have the regional wage boards and they are knowledgeable, they are in the know on how much perhaps should the minimum wage be in a certain region. because I would think it should be different in Metro Manila to a far-flung, distant province in the Visayas, for example.
Thank you very much, Governor, for your response. Attorney Espiritu, how will you balance employers and workers' interests now that there is a clamor for raising the minimum wage?
As I always say, disbalansyado na even before pa ang posisyon ng employer at saka ng mga manggagawa. Dahil ang ating minimum wage sa ngayon, 537. Bago pa itong impending increase sa mga presyo ng mga bilihin, talagang hindi na nakabubuhay. 42,000 according to Secretary Pernia ang cost of living ng ordinaryong manggagawa para mabuhay niya ang kanyang pamilya. That translates to 1,615 a day. Ang nakukuha lang ng mga manggagawa ay 537, which is the highest pa. 300 pa sa Bicol region, which yun ay pinakamababa. So, sobrang mababa sa cost of living niya. Alam mo, yung sistema natin, dapat yan, design talaga yan, na when a worker works, bibigyan naman siya dapat ng mabuhay siya. Dapat, kasi nagtatrabaho siya para mabuhay siya, hindi para mamatay siya. Hindi nagtatrabaho siya para dun sa trabaho niya, makukuha niya ang pangangailangan niya sa pang-araw-araw. So, napaka-disbalansyado na. Ito ang employer, ito ang employee. You know, the balancing act should be to tilt in favor of labor. That's already the balancing act. Even before itong mga price increase na threatening our economy. Dati pa yan, yung 750 na yan, it does not even take into consideration yung price increase. It takes into consideration current prices na wala pang price increase. So sa totoo lang, dapat nga outdated na yung 750 kapag may price increase.
Representative Baguilat, same question regarding raising the minimum wage, which could also hurt employers who are also suffering amid the pandemic and rising oil prices. Your time starts now.
Yeah. Well, first of all, sa akin, dapat bawagin na rin yung mga regional wage boards. I agree that we should have a national minimum wage standard. Kasi malaki talaga yung disparity between regions and Metro Manila. In fact, yung 750, living wage yan. Baka hindi na yan ang living wage ngayon because talagang tumataas ang presyo ng mga bilihin because of these recent oil price increases. No? But at the same time, talagang kinakailangan magkaroon tayo ng inclusive consultation, especially also with the small micro enterprises. Marami talagang mga micro and small enterprises na baka hindi nila kaya na i-meet yung minimum wage. No? So I think we should also look into their interests, perhaps provide them with more incentives, look into the corporate tax system para talagang mabawasan yung taxes na kinokollect natin din sa mga maliliit na mga negosyante. No? At the same time, perhaps exploring also other non-monetary benefits, full health coverage for employees, perhaps even discussing whether profit-sharing schemes can also be studied. Kasi sa akin, dapat ang labor at saka ang business ay symbiotic relationship. Asset ng business ang labor. At the same time, alam naman ng labor na pag tumiklok, lalo na yung mga maliliit na negosyo, malaking problema rin.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your stance on the minimum wage issue. The country has already made significant steps in recognizing women, and among them, the Magna Carta of Women, which promotes women empowerment. The World Economic Forum reported in 2021, the Philippines ranked 17th out of 156 countries in terms of gender equality. But gaps in wages and income as well as political empowerment are yet to be narrowed. In fact, many laws are seen as prejudicial to women, giving men more decision-making power. One example is the 1930 enacted revised penal code. This carries an antiquated provision that exempts a husband from criminal liability upon killing his wife caught in a sexual activity. Well, the Philippine Commission on Women has long been pushing for the repeal of this provision. Gentlemen, the question is, what amendments will you propose to make some male-centric laws friendly or equal to women? Representative Baguilat, we start off with you. You have 90 seconds.
Marami tayong napag-aralan ng mga batas na very outdated, very obsolete. Maliban dun sa nabanggit mo, Rico, meron nga tayong batas on adultery and concubinage. Alam nyo ba na mas malaki ang parusa sa adultery kaysa sa concubinage. At mas mahirap patunayan yung concubinage. No? Doon rin sa ating family code, no? Kaya, kung hiwala yung pamilya at kahit naninirahan yung bata doon sa nanay, pag maghahanap siya na ng parental consent, sa tatay pupunta. No? That is what is mandated in law. So kinakailangan talagang pag-aralan pa natin yung mga batas. And not only looking into amendments of laws, even yung enforcement of our laws. Meron nga tayong anti-VAUSI, violence against women and children laws. Pero ang dami pa rin mga kababaihan. No? There's a study that around 60% no, ng mga kababaihan, age 15 to 59, ay nakakaranas ng physical and sexual abuse. No? Also looking at the number of cases of abortion every year. Meron ang study, 60,000 ang abortions, no? 600,000 ang abortions in 2012. Maraming namamatay ng mga kababaihan because of hindi sila nabibigyan ng post-abortion care. So sa akin, while we should decriminalize abortion and also make sure na nabibigyan rin ng mga kababaihan ng post-abortion care.
Thank you so much, Representative Baguilat. Governor Barbo, how can we make our laws more gender? How can we have more gender equality in our laws?
Well, number one, a man or a husband caught in a sexual act with another woman other than his wife should also be treated the same way that a woman is caught by the husband. Let's make it fair and equal. Women are, well, let me speak personally. At home, the women in my house are the kings and the queens. And I found out that they are more intelligent than we are. So I think we need to develop these women because normally women are more intelligent in several matters that are close to our lives. I think women should not only be loved, they should be promoted to become leaders. And they are effective leaders, they are thinkers, and they inspire. And what more can we say except to say that we have to prove that we love the women in our lives, but let's show them that the leadership belongs to them.
Your time is up.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Governor. Attorney Espiritu, how will you amend laws seen as prejudicial to women?
Well, it's not limited only to adultery and concubinage. Of course, these are antiquated laws. We have to change all of those antiquated laws which preponderate towards the men and then discriminatory towards women. At the same time, dapat magkaroon tayo ng mga positive laws in order to give equality between a man and a woman in terms of opportunity and employment, in salaries. So mga discriminatory practices, dapat natin yan i-penalize. Like for example, ang mga babae pagkabuntis ay inaalis sa trabaho. This is a discriminatory practice na dapat pinipinalize. Ang mga babae kailangan mayroon silang certain age para tanggapin sila sa particular types of work. Like for example, kapag stewardess sila, ang appearance nila ay importante, therefore kapag tumanda sila, kaya aalisin na sila sa trabaho. All of this discriminate upon a woman and treat women only as valuable because of their looks and because of their bodies. Yan ay dapat i-penalize. Magkaroon tayo ng penalty sa mga dyan. At saka, secondly, we must have positive laws that will increase democratic rights of women. For example, divorce. Kung sira na talaga yung marriage, kahit anong gawin mong fixing dyan, kahit anong gusto mong marriage counseling yan, that's a fact of life, we must give legal recognition na basag na yung marriage and we must cut the legal tie. And I join with Senator Baguilat in calling for the decriminalization of abortion.
Thank you very much, gentlemen, for your views on this very important issue regarding women in the country. And before we take a short break, here's a question you will answer with a yes or a no. Raise the corresponding signboard to reflect your answer. The green for yes, the red for no. Your question involves equality in the workplace. Let's watch this.
Given the chance po, bibigyan niyo po ba ng malaki at mahalagang katungkulan sa inyong komite o opisina ang isang miyembro ng LGBT plus community?
There you go, candidates, members of the LGBTQ plus community working for you. Let us see your answers. Yes or no? It is a unanimous yes for all our candidates. More LGBTQ plus employees in the workforce. Well, this serves as an official receipt. This is CNN Philippines special presentation. When we come back, our guests will answer questions from netizens. So keep your questions coming using the hashtag CNNPH Senatorial Forum. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. I'm Rico Hizon. 3 first-timers in the senatorial race are joining us tonight. Former Ifugao Representative Teddy Baguilat, former Eastern Samar Governor Lutgardo Barbo, and labor lawyer Luke Espiritu. Again, this is not a debate. This forum will allow the public to know more about our senatorial candidates and their stand on certain issues. To our audience, feel free to join the conversation online using the hashtag CNNPH Senatorial Forum. Right now, candidates, you will be answering questions sent to us by netizens. And here is one from Facebook, from Chloe Escarcha. And she says, the world is under a climate crisis and the Philippines is bearing the brunt of its effects, while ordinary citizens are exerting zero-waste efforts. Large corporations are not, and they are not being held responsible for it. What Chloe wants to know, how can you make sure every company is committed to lessen the effects of this climate crisis? Attorney Espiritu, let's start off with you. You have 90 seconds.
The first is in the energy sector, na marami tayo dito mga coal-fired power plants. And yan ang pinakamalaking contributor sa mga greenhouse gases natin. And I do agree that meron tayong panahon na siyensya na mismo nagdikta na dapat we have to reduce our greenhouse gases. And by 2030, kapag hindi natin na-limit ang pag-init ng ating planeta, na dapat ito'y below 1.5 degrees, this is irreversible. Time is of the essence. Therefore, we must really phase out yung mga coal-fired power plants natin at mga power plants na nagdidepend sa mga fossil fuel. And we have to go 100% renewable energy. And the time period to do this is less than the 8-year mark na sinasabi ng ating scientists. But that is not enough. You know, we have to transform not only our energy sector, we have to transform our entire economy from dependency on fossil fuel towards a low carbon economy. And one of the ways by which we have to do that is the government must take an active part in promoting green industries, green jobs, not only green energy systems.
Thank you very much, Attorney Espiritu. Congressman Baguilat, how will you make sure companies are committed to climate response?
I agree with Attorney Luke. No? Yun sa energy sector talaga, we should really start transitioning towards cleaner and greener energy. No? Start the phase out of coal plants. 49% kasi ng ating energy comes from coal, around 7% comes from diesel and gasoline. So, ang laki naman ng potential ng Pilipinas for renewable energy. Hydro, solar, wind, even tidal energy is something that needs to be explored. Ang laki ng ating coastline, the longest in the world. No? So, tidal energy also is a good potential for the Philippines. And in connection to that, bigyan natin talaga ng halaga rin yung ating mga scientists, no? Yung research and development, yung ating mga technologies. Kasi masyado tayong dependent rin, no, sa foreign technology when it comes to renewable energy. It's high time that we also give importance, no, to our brains in the Philippines. Otherwise, talagang tuloy pa rin yung brain drain natin. And then, ang number one source actually ng fossil fuel emissions in the Philippines is private vehicles. So we need to really also improve our public transport system. Pag-aralan din talaga itong mga e-vehicles, no? I know it's expensive now, yung mga hybrid, but you know, it's going to become cheaper in the future because it will happen. It has to happen. So I agree that we should also look into transitioning towards renewable energy, at the same time also lessening our dependence on private vehicles.
So, Governor Lutz, how can you ensure that every company is committed to narrowing or lessening its footprint for fossil fuels?
I cannot disagree with these two gentlemen. They have good ideas. But more than that, I think we should talk with the owners or the managers of these companies. Kailangan kausapin sila. And then, let's be serious about this. Kailangan sabihin sa kanila na you are helping destroy the environment. And the climate is affected by that. So perhaps proportionally, kung ano ang inyong damage, siguro kayo, hindi lang siguro kayo lang ang magbabayad kumbaga sa atin eh. But I think there should be some kind of a fund ng gobyerno to alleviate and help restore destroyed environment, kapaligiran natin. But I will insist that those who are guilty or those who are responsible for destroying the environment, halimbawa itong Pasig River, kung sino ang guilty dyan, hindi naman dapat tayo ang managot dyan. Dapat managot yung mga factories along Pasig River. Let them know that we are serious in this. Magaganda ang batas natin, pero matters of implementation, doon tayo nagbobog down.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for your responses. We move on now to this question, answerable by just a yes or a no. No explanation is needed. Just give us the answer using your signboards. Green is yes and red is no. The Population Commission says the country may see its lowest population growth in over 7 decades as more Filipinos use contraceptives such as pills and condoms, while Popcom says a slow population growth rate is good for the country. A question from a netizen kind of touches on the elephant in the room. We all know that the church and the state were at odds over the groundbreaking reproductive health bill, which now guarantees free access to contraceptives before it was signed into law in 2012. So let's take a look at this feedback from one of our viewers for this senatorial forum, and her name is Sally Garcia Gaetano. And she asks, will you support or create measures promoting family planning, especially among poor families, even when the church opposes it? Gentlemen, yes or no? It's an unanimous yes for all our guest candidates tonight. And when we come back, how will each candidate react to a question from his fellow senatorial aspirant? This is a CNN Philippines special presentation. We'll be right back. Glad you're staying with us for this CNN Philippines Senatorial Forum. This is the 8th in a series where we get to know our senatorial candidates. Earlier, our guests answered questions on various issues concerning Filipinos. Right now, we will be allowing them to ask questions to each other. You will be given 2 minutes to answer, and when you hear this sound, that means you have only 10 seconds left and you need to wrap up. And we will start with you, Representative Teddy Baguilat, and you will be directing your question to Attorney Luke Espiritu. Representative Baguilat.
Thank you, Rico. Hello, Attorney Luke.
Hello.
Ito yung tanong ko, no? Meron ka bang naiisip na maaari ring maitulong din sa karapatan at kapakanan ng mga katutubo? Maraming salamat, Attorney Luke.
Yes.
Attorney Luke, you have 2 minutes.
Ang problema ng ating katutubo ay yung control nila sa kanilang ancestral land. Pinapasok ito ng mga iilang malalaking interest, tulad halimbawa ng mga malalaking korporasyon na gagamitin ang kanilang ancestral land, ng mga minahan, na gagamitin ang kanilang natural resources. Tulad ng Sumifru, meron lang pupunta kami sa Mindanao, and in fact one of the things that I would do if I go to Mindanao is to visit the Tibulis who lease their land to Sumifru, pero hindi nila napapakinabangan ang lupa na yon na nililis nila. Nilis nila sa Sumifru, tapos sila ay naging manggagawa doon sa loob ng Sumifru, tapos sila ay mababa ang kanilang sweldo. So, bukod pa dyan sa mga korporasyon, mga minahan, mga land developer, yun ang nakikinabang sa kanilang ancestral land. Ang pinakamasama pa niyan, at ito ang pinakamasama, bukod pa sa fact na hindi napapakinabangan ng mga katutubo o yung ating mga IPs at ang mga malalaking korporasyon ang nakikinabang sa kanilang ancestral land, ay pinapasok pa ng militar. Minimilitarize ang mga IPs natin at sila ay nahahatak sa labanan sa insurgency. Pumapasok ang NTF-ELCAC sa ating mga IPs at ang masama pa, nire-red tag ang ating mga IPs. Ang ating, we have witnessed isang IP teacher na pinatay ng militar. Ito, may repression, merong pagpasok ng mga malalaking corporate interest, dapat yan alisin. I-demilitarize natin ang ating mga ancestral lands ng mga IPs, hayaan sila nang mag-develop ng kanilang sariling komunidad at sila ang hayaan na dapat mag-exploit ng kanilang natural resources at dapat tulungan sila ng gobyerno at hindi tulungan ng gobyerno ang malalaking minahan at corporate interest.
Thank you very much, Attorney Luke. Now your question, Attorney, for Governor Barbo.
Governor Barbo, naging governor kayo ng Eastern Samar. Doon sa Eastern Samar, meron kaming isang issue doon sa mining sa Manicani Island. Maari ba naming matanong kung ano ang inyong attitude tungkol sa mining sa Eastern Samar?
Nako, grabe. Sumama ako doon. Sumasali ako palagi sa mga rally nila. Yung mga pari, nandoon, yung mga madre, sumasali ako. Ang masama, meron akong doon pinagkakatiwalaan ay pinatay pa. And ang sama ng loob ko. At saka hindi lang ito nagbabantay doon sa kagubatan namin, pati nga sa bantay dagat, siya ay aking katulong kasi meron kaming bantay dagat doon. Nako, alam namin na ang pumatay at suportado ng mga armadong militar. At ipinadidimanda ko, ang sabi, nagtago na daw, wala na raw, hindi na raw makita doon. Kalbong-kalbo na ang Manicani, lalo na yung Humunhon. And napaka-historical pa naman yun.
Thank you very much.
Sad. Yeah.
It is a very sad situation.
Very sad.
Thank you very much, Governor Barbo, for that response to the question of Attorney Luke Espiritu. And now, Governor, your question for Congressman Baguilat.
I will ask it?
Yes, you will ask.
In the Philippine Constitution, particularly Article 2, Section 26, sinasabi doon that the state shall guarantee to provide equal opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by law. Isang question na ba?
Yes.
Isang question lang.
Yes, one
Siguro
question.
sa first question lang, ano ba ang pinaplano mo para magkaroon ng equal opportunities? May mga mahihirap kagaya natin na mga kandidato, hindi natin kaya ng milyon-milyon na gagastusin para sa mga digital board, TV at saka radio. Paano ba magiging equal ang opportunities? Do you believe that we should have some kind of funding from the government? Ibibigay natin sa mga registered, accredited political parties. Hindi yung mga fly-by-night na mga political parties.
Congressman Baguilat, your response to the governor's question.
Thank you, Governor Barbo. Matagal na ang pinagalaban namin sa Liberal Party ang political reform. No? Yung nabanggit mo kanina sa anti-political dynasty, ako talaga isa sa mga nagtutulak nito na magkaroon tayo ng batas. No? Unfortunately, kasi kahit andun yun sa ating saligang batas, pero sinasabi na Kongreso ang magpapasa ng anti-political dynasty law, which is almost impossible given that the composition of Congress is talagang napakarami. Perhaps 70 to 80% are part of political dynasties. Not just in Congress, but even in local government. So maybe it's high time we also try to explore yung People's Initiative in trying to pass an anti-political dynasty bill just in case hindi kaya talagang isulong sa Kongreso. Marami pa ang kinakailangan baguhin. Ating party list system na it's supposed to represent basic sectors, marginalized sectors, or people who really have opportunities to sit in Congress and also pass legislation for their interest. Kasi lang, magtitignan naman natin yung mga party list natin. They don't represent the sectors, they don't represent the marginalized. Samantalang doon talaga ang intent, no? Sa ligang batas is we will have this party list system for the basic sectors. No? Pero hindi ganun nangyari. So kinakailangan talagang baguhin rin. Unfortunately also, it requires a law in Congress and that's also a big challenge kasi syempre yung mga party list natin doon which represents not the basic sectors but a lot of political dynasties, a lot of big business interests also ay talagang tututol dito. But as to the question na sinabi ni Governor Barbo, I'm open to studying that. Giving really assistance to through yung mga totoo, mga tunay na mga political parties. But that also means strengthening our political parties. Hindi katulad ngayon na ang daming mga political parties na hindi naman tunay na political parties.
Thank you very much, candidates, for your questions and your responses to each other's questions. And before we move on, let's check some comments which have been posted online on Instagram. Yetis B, as you can see right now on your screens, he says, it's about time we try new faces. Let's get rid of the traditional names in politics. Wala naman nagbago. Mahirap pa rin ang mahirap. All right. Moving on now to Facebook. From Ponyo. Ayan. According to Ponyo, please revisit and ratify the legal age of criminal liability. He also asked future lawmakers to ensure there will be less crimes among teenagers. Yan. Nagugulan tayo sa ating Vitron dito. As for Boyet Tumolva, wants a law preventing a mass promotion in our educational system. And moving on now to Jim Zuela. Nasaan ba dyan si Jim Zuela? Ayan, si Jim Zuela with his baby girl. He asks, how can you help Filipino workers get mandatory separation pay for all? He says, under our current law, a person who voluntarily resigns will not get a separation pay even if you have been in service for a long time. And we have Rodel Tan with his bicycle posing a question. As a senator, how can you lead Filipinos to be more patriotic? He feels like patriotism is already gone and forgotten. And finally, you have Marshal Domingo challenging Congress to enact a 14-month pay law for the private sector. He says, when there was a clamor for a 14-month pay for government employees, Congress enacted on it immediately. Ayan. Thank you so much for all your feedback online. And now, for this next question, you have 2 minutes each to answer, gentlemen, and tell us what is your priority legislation. Let us start off with you, Representative Baguilat. Your priority legislation, if elected, and your first day in the Senate.
Thank you, Rico. Among the first legislative acts that will happen when the new administration comes in is the presentation of the President's legislative priority, particularly yung presentation ng budget. So definitely yan ang unang pag-uusapan ng Senado at saka ng Kongreso, yung ating budget for 2023. So sa akin, gusto ko lang tignan na tataasan ang budget para sa edukasyon because we really have to safeguard our future. The youth is our future and definitely education is a big priority as far as I'm concerned. No? Not just for indigenous peoples, but for everybody else. No? Sabi nga nila, kinakailangan natin at least 6% of our GDP should be yung equivalent of our budget for education. Pangalawa, agrikultura. I've been in Congress for 9 years. Hindi talaga nabibigyan ng priority ang agriculture. Ang baba ng budget natin sa agrikultura. We have resorted to liberalization, no, by allowing importation of rice. Ngayon naman, asukal. Kagagaling lang namin sa Negros. There's sugar everywhere. So why are we now thinking of importing sugar? So sa akin, no, repeal the rice tariffication law because sa akin, importation is just a stopgap measure. Kung may food shortage, then okay, we can allow importation. No? But ang long-term solution talaga is bigyan ng tulong yung mga magsasaka, bigyan sila ng subsidy sa kanilang abono, sa pataba, bigyan sila ng crop insurance coverage because of climate change. Ang dami na talagang mga bagyo, mga El Nino na hinaharap yung mga magsasaka natin. Mag-invest talaga tayo in agriculture and infrastructure. So taasan yung budget sa agrikultura because pag matulungan natin yung mga magsasaka, bababa ang presyo ng pagkain, di lahat tayo magpe-benepisyo.
Governor Barbo, your legislation priority, please.
Actually, I have prepared 3 bills. The first day, after taking my oath, pwede ko nang i-file. I used to be Senate Secretary, kaya mukhang alam ko na yung proseso doon. Number 1 is that this should take a longer pananaw. Kasi ang tingin ko, palagi na lang ganitong eleksyon ay parang moro-moro, sarsuela, lukuhan, bilihan ng boto, gano'n na lang, palitan na lang ng mukha, palitan ng pwesto. Iniisip ko na kailangan siguro ang salin i-attach doon sa certificate of candidacy. And kailangan din siguro doon sa AMLAC mabubuksan ang accounts, kung meron accounts, ang isang kandidato. And I think the COMELEC should be authorized. Kasi ang corruption is hindi natin nasusugpo. At least, kung hindi man natin masusugpo yan, marireduce man lang. That is one thing. Tapos another na gusto kong i-file ay bulok na sistema ang politika natin. Napakabulok. Pati na yung gobyerno nagiging bulok. Siguro kailangan ang mga pumapasok sa politika should align themselves with a political party. Ngayon, I will try to make it unlawful for you to be a turncoat. Kasi ang nangyayari sa atin, pag nagbabago ang presidente, bago na rin yung partido mo.
All right. Thank you very much. Your time is up. Thank you very much, Governor. Attorney Espiritu, please share with the people your legislative priorities.
Unang araw ng pagpasok natin sa Senado, sisimulan natin ang proseso para mabuwag ang mga manpower agency. Bibilang na dapat ng araw ang mga manpower agency dahil wala silang contribution, wala silang papel, sila ay mga linta, added layer sa ating ekonomiya na useless na pinaprop up ng Department Order 174. Dapat alisin sila, wala silang kontribusyon sa ekonomiya at ang pag-alis sa kanila dahil sila ay parasites ay no consequence sa ating ekonomiya. Para ang ating mga manggagawa ay maging regular dun sa kumpanya o pabrika kung saan sila nagtatrabaho. Direct hired na ang magiging arrangement ng ating pag-iempleyo. Second, 750 national minimum wage, walang pagkakaiba sa iba't ibang mga rehiyon at ito ay i-adjust ayon sa cost of living ng mga manggagawa. Pangatlo, wealth tax. Kailangan natin buwisan ang mga mayayaman at hindi ang mga mahihirap. Alisin ang VAT, alisin ang excise tax kung saan ito ay regressive at binibitbit ang tax burden ng mga ordinaryong manggagawa, ordinaryong maralita at masang Pilipino. Pangatlo, kailangan natin proteksyonan ang ating demokrasya. Buwagin na natin yung NTF-ELCAC na wala yang silbi at wala yang place sa ating demokrasya. Alisin na rin natin ang anti-terror law at palawakin natin ang ating demokrasya upang magkaroon ng karapatan ang ating LGBTQIA community at ang ating mga kababaihan. Yan lang po. Maraming salamat.
You heard our candidates' legislative priorities. We're now down to our last question, and it's one that needs no explanation, just a simple yes or no. President Duterte recently said he will not apologize for the deaths of suspected drug users and dealers under his controversial war on drugs. Official government data counted more than 6,000 deaths in anti-drug operations, but human rights groups claim up to 30,000 were killed. The International Criminal Court has initiated but temporarily suspended an investigation into suspected human rights abuses in the anti-narcotics crusade. The government has repeatedly denied condoning extrajudicial killings. Here's the question, candidates. Do you think abuses were committed in President Duterte's war on drugs? Yes or no? Yes. A resounding yes, that abuses were committed in President Duterte's war on drugs. Gentlemen, we would like to thank you for your answers and for joining us tonight for this CNN Philippines special presentation. I'm Rico Hizon. All the best in your campaigns and the elections on May 9th. We'll see you again next week as CNN Philippines brings you COMELEC's presidential and vice presidential debates.